Good morning, people. How we doing? I am hopping on a bit late here as I made a pretty bomb breakfast and I just needed to scarf it down. So I was looking at the clock and I was like, no way we'll have time for both of these. So we're starting 5 minutes late with me, still trying to get down that last little swallow of toast that I just had. But good morning. Happy Friday. We're here. We made it. I'm excited for what the market has for us today and to culminate a week that's been pretty crazy. There's been sad news. There's been, crazy, creative, kind of like interest sparking news on the AI front. So it's just another week of news here on good old Blue Planet Earth. But I'm excited to cap this off, maybe with some market opportunity, right? Depending on how we want to move today. We've already got some volatility here pre-market, so we'll see if we can take advantage of that in any way, or if the market provides us with a nice bankable Friday. But good morning, everybody. Detrice, Andrea, Michelle, Alicia, Sharon, Tiffany. Good morning. Welcome. We got another session of pre-market prep going on to close us out here this week. It's been a good week. Hasn't been any type of like crazy over the moon week. But we've had, a lot of things come through for us. AppLovin coming through off earnings with the leaps going up well over 100%, paying quite nicely. And then just watching other individual names throughout the week. We've had analysis come through for Netflix from last Friday, right? We've had SPY analysis come through with us breaking pre-market high 2 days ago and pushing up since then to close the gap that we left on the daily chart. So we've had a good week, right? A solid week. But it's just, you won't have those like boom, 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 knock it out of the park, 3,000% plays every other day type week. Not this week, but that's completely fine, right? We roll with what the market has for us and we take advantage of it. But here we've got one goal only. We don't set the bar too high. We try to get 1% better every day by the end of the session. I also meant to change to my normal hat, but now I'm just here in my, my gifted hat. I was a little cold this morning when I woke up and just threw this on and warmed up immediately. So this is my first piece of, Carhartt, what is it, like gear. Got this as a Christmas gift. Super warm, right? It's like the warmest hat. As soon as I throw it on, I warm up immediately. But now we're on live with it. So here you go. Free promo for Carhartt. But let's get into what we got going on today, because we have a few different impactful news headlines. Not a long session, though, which is why I was fine with bumping this to 850. So our top news: winning the race. Automakers have been debating the future of the industry for years, with the starting point just as confusing as the finish line. It's a question as old as the Toyota Prius and General Motors EV1 mixed with a large dose of subsidies. It's a question as old. That's just a weird sentence. It's a question as old as the Toyota Prius and General Motors EV1 mixed with a large dose of subsidies, practicality, demand, and regulations. Rising competition across the globe, especially from China, is also upending many prior presumptions and is even bringing traditional rivals closer together. Quote, if there are ways that we can partner with others, especially on technologies that are not consumer facing, and be more efficient with R&D as well as capital, we're all in, GM CEO Mary Barra announced at the Wolfe Research Global Auto and Auto Tech Conference. Quote, if you cannot compete fair and square with the Chinese around the world, then 20 to 30% of your revenue is at risk, Ford CEO Jim Farley added at the same event, noting that the situation might push the company into battery partnerships with another OEM automaker. Now, the two auto giants, along with Tesla and others, have been feeling some serious heat from China's top electric vehicle makers. Chief among them is Berkshire Hathaway's backed BYD, which has been completely obliterating rivals on price and even topped Tesla in sales last year. While subsidies have played a part in its path to success, the new EV industry leader also owns the entire supply chain for its batteries and benefits from cheaper manufacturing costs in China. Quote, if there are no trade barriers established, CEO Elon Musk said on a post-earnings call last month, they will pretty much demolish most other car companies in the world. They're extremely good, which is wild because if you play back clips, he was like laughing them out when asked about BYD. And now he's being forced to say that they're extremely good. Of course, part of it is, China putting on the bumpers for their own native companies, providing all these subsidies and whatnot. And then, of course, Biden being more so at war with Elon Musk and not as much providing subsidies for Teslas, and Teslas even losing eligibility for some subsidies. Other worries: high tariffs on China imposed during the Trump administration have helped keep BYD out of the U.S., but the company is eyeing a plant in Mexico that American car makers fear can be used to make inroads under the USMCA trade agreement. Right? If you guys remember, we talked about it here actually during the session. Mexico is now still got, that's hilarious. I've literally still got the tags on this bad boy. I don't know why, but I'm that person that, like, if I don't take them off immediately, I'll just rock the tags on something. But yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Mexico. Mexico is now our biggest trade partner, right? Overtaking China. So China's like, hey, you don't want to trade with us? How about we just put a facility in Mexico? And they might try and sneak BYD in that way. Quote, last year, 25% of all vehicles sold in Mexico were sourced in China, Ford's Farley declared. Quote, the world is changing. The Detroit automaker also recently pulled back on EV investment after losing $4.7 billion on its battery-powered car unit in 2023, and it may lead it to adopt more of a plug-in hybrid strategy or diversified approach long advocated by the likes of Toyota. Quote, the EV growth slowdown is good for Ford, wrote Seeking Alpha investing group leader JR Research, allowing it more time to milk its more profitable core business and work on its next generation of products. Yeah, so EV wars continuing to heat up. BYD, right? A dark horse in the race. Obviously, I feel like they put themselves on the map really when they usurped Tesla in terms of sales, but obviously becoming a big problem in that space, something that, I doubt that these American car companies saw coming. Of course, Ford and GM pushing deeper into the space. People think, oh, maybe they'll compete with Tesla. You got Rivian. What's the other one? You've got like Fisker, but I feel like for a while, like Rivian was the one that was supposed to be like the Tesla killer. And there was another one too that I'm forgetting about. But they were both like the Tesla killers. And it turns out, shockingly, they're nowhere near that. But BYD actually taking on that mantle. In terms of consumer news, spending signs after months of consumer spending surprising to the upside. Is the consumer ready to take a break? Retail sales fell 0.8% month over month to $700.3 billion in January, more than the 0.1% decline expected, and a turnaround from December's 0.4 month over month increase, in a development attributed to seasonal issues and a holiday hangover. U.S. stocks still ended higher on Thursday, with traders shrugging off the new data as well as the hot CPI report earlier this week. Talked about that, right? Pre-market, about how a few days ago, right, we got that sell-off overnight because of the hot CPI data. Well, if we went on to break that pre-market high from 2 days ago, SPY was likely going to close that gap. That's exactly what we did, close that gap to the upside. And now, we're pushing the previous daily high that we established before that drop even happened. So let's see here. The data, quote, shows that retail sales not seasonally adjusted were up 2% year over year, and with inflation adjustments were up by more, said Seeking Alpha analyst Wolf Richter. Quote, so for now, I'm not worried about our consumers. In terms of defense news, space weapon, the White House has confirmed reports of Russia developing a space-based anti-satellite capability, though it doesn't disclose if it was nuclear in nature. Quote, I'm limited by how much I can share about the nature of the threat, said National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby. But, quote, we're not talking about a weapon that can be used to attack human beings or cause destruction here on Earth. So they say. He also noted that President Biden directed additional briefings to congressional leaders, as well as direct diplomatic engagement with Russia and U.S. allies. The White House was forced to make the disclosure earlier than planned after House Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Turner called on Biden to, quote, declassify all information relating to the serious security threat. Yeah, I don't know. Them saying that it's not a weapon that could be used to attack people here on Earth is not super comforting. Whenever somebody has something in space, I feel like the whole point of putting something in space is so that it could very easily access any location on Earth, right? So I just don't buy that they're developing a weapon that's solely used to take out satellites and it can't be used to do anything on Earth. I feel like if it is sophisticated enough to operate in space, then it has to be sophisticated enough to operate on Earth. Don't know. But this is just kind of an ongoing development based off of what we heard a few days ago, which was that there was a major national security threat that, lawmakers were alerted to. And it kind of Sent those that are more plugged into news kind of a little bit independent because it's like, what is going on? What exactly is the nature of the threat? We didn't get more information until now, but now we're seeing pretty clearly that it's Russia wanting to get anti-satellite weapons into space. And I mean, I get it. We've got tons of satellites in space, specifically Musk, right? Musk and SpaceX, they have so many satellites in space. And if I'm Russia, I'm like, hey, I don't want you creeping on me, peeking behind the curtain, trying to see what we have going on here. So I want to take your satellites down. It's like it's not crazy to think. Like I see the logic behind it. It's just not something that's a comforting thought. And I'm sure Russia probably feels the same way. They're like, there's thousands of American satellites above, our orbit. Not a very comforting thought. So just tough, just the tough, kind of virtues of being human. In terms of SPACs news here, Trump's SPAC Digital World Acquisition, ticker DWAC, is in the spotlight again after the SEC's approval for its business combination with Trump Media and Technology, the parent of the former president's social media platform, Truth Social. Digital World expects to announce the date of the special shareholder meeting to vote on the combination within 2 business days. Shares soared 16% after the news and have been edgy since the beginning of the presidential primary season. Quote, with a major cash infusion after the merger, Truth Social may finally be able to capitalize on the Trump name and create a powerhouse social media platform, according to Seeking Alpha analyst Wyco researcher. I feel like Trump's not even on Truth Social, so why would his followers be on Truth Social? I do agree that DWAC is something that you'll likely see volatility in over the course of this election cycle, just because it serves as like a proxy for Trump. So Trump news or Trump rumors is typically good for DWAC. DWAC is also a heavy, so far in the past, it's shown itself as a heavy buy the rumor, sell the news type of mover, where it's like when the news that you think is great for it is finally finalized, the stock drops. And then when you hear a rumor of something happening, the stock goes up. So that's typically how DWAC functions, is that, there's like rumors of this finally happening, that finally happening, and it goes up as a result of that. But then once that thing actually occurs, right, everybody sells it and takes profit. So watch out for that for any of my people that are feeling saucy and want to involve themselves in some, some meme stock craziness. In terms of today's markets, this is all changed pretty much because, let's see here, we likely got some type of data. I just saw the SPY had sold off. What is this, right at 830? So we got some type of data. We didn't sell off crazy, but at this point, we are looking to open slightly red. So there's no, use in me kind of saying what today's markets were sitting at if that's outdated. Producer price index is the data that we got. So PPI, that's inflation information on producers, right? So how much more is it costing these producers, the people that create our goods, to produce those goods? Evidently, it wasn't something that we wanted to see because we had a drop when that data came out. We also get consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. today. So both of those are very important, right? Consumer sentiment, that is going to be something that moves markets at 10 a.m. today. So that first half hour, right, there might not be a lot going on, or it might be, some type of fake out, but just make sure that you recognize that by 10 a.m., we are going to get data, and that data will likely be significant. So in terms of like, coming out and directly diving into stuff at open, doesn't seem like that's going to be a high probability for me, just based off the fact that we have data coming out at 10. And most often, you're best off just waiting for whatever data to be released, so then you don't have to worry about it catching you off guard and ruining your trades. So make sure that you factor that in. First 30 minutes, we're likely chilling here from 9:30 to 10. And then at 10, we'll see what happens with consumer sentiment. But that is significant data being dropped. In terms of what else is happening, Roku tumbles as traders sell, revenue beat, strong guidance. Wow. So again, it does not matter what happens with earnings. They got a revenue beat. They had strong guidance, and people are still selling Roku. MicroStrategy's $10 billion Bitcoin cash sits on 70% unrealized profit. Coinbase jumps as crypto exchange returns to profitability. Google in spotlight as OpenAI works on search product. More AI, Apple tool to rival Microsoft's GitHub Copilot. That was info that Apple dropped, yesterday, saying that, hey, Microsoft is coming out with, this GitHub Copilot, which is basically like a local AI to help you out on your devices. Apple's also coming out with one. Hopefully it's different than Siri, because Siri is, I don't know, slightly less useful than my appendix. So yeah, U.S. regulator ends another Wells Fargo consent order up to $6 billion. Bezos sells more Amazon stock after Miami move. Definitely a big tax move. Deere, ticker DE, slides as cut in full year profit guidance disappoints. I'm trying to see what's up with my grounding mat down here. Shake Shack, ticker SHAK, rallies after comparable sales and margins impress. Then NYCB, ticker NYCB, discloses $18.7 billion in reciprocal deposit capacity. So that's it for this week, people. That's it for today's news. Let's see what the market has for us. We've got some data coming out at 10. We can see some volatility. And of course, we have, 0-day contracts that sit there in the background, ready to be leveraged in case of any short-term opportunity and, some saucy feelings on the side of the trader. So we'll see what today has in store for us. But everybody, make sure you have a great weekend, a safe weekend. And of course, if you are not leveraging your money to make you more money in markets, make sure that you get involved with us, right? AdamHollandeducates.com. Email me, adam@adamhollandeducates.com. Right? And make something happen. At the end of the day, if you want something to happen, opportunity only meets you in motion. So don't say, oh, I can't afford this, or I can't do this, or I don't have this time. And you don't even sit down and have the conversation to see if you can, right? That's not obstacles standing in your way. That's you standing in your way. And to be honest, 9 out of 10 times, we're the ones standing in our way of getting things done that we want to get done. We just blame other things, right? But you've got the time, you've got the money. All you need to do is execute. So let's make sure we're doing that all 2024 long. And other than that, people, have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday. Peace.